So in our demo, I'm going to be showing you a basic, and I mean basic, DSC configuration, and I'm going to run through the creation of a mop file so you see how it works. While you personally may not be creating and deploying DSC configurations in your organization, it doesn't hurt to have an idea of how it works. So let's jump into our demo on working with desired state configuration. Since DSC is built into PowerShell version 4.0 and I'm running Windows 8.1 on my client machine, I have access to all of the commands that are built in for DSC. So to see those commands, we'll just put in our get-member, and then we'll look for wildcard-DSC. And what this is doing is that's just looking for the nouns that begin with DSC. So that's going to bring all of the different DSC commands that I have available. So there's some functions, so there's some commandlets. The one we're going to focus on and we're going to take a look at in our script is the start-DSC configuration. So we'll put in help, start-DSC configuration. And we'll see this allows us to apply configurations to nodes. So if we take a look at the help for this and the examples, it shows us how to go about applying configurations for DSC to a system. We're going to use this when we take a look at our configuration. So I'm going to go over to the ISE, and you'll notice that I have a script already created here. And this is a script with the help of another Pluralsight author, Jason Helmick. He passes along to me, thought it would be a good starting point for all of you. And basically what this script does is that it creates a MA file for installing the web server IIS role on nodes. What it's also going to do is it's also going to test the running of the configuration, that MA file, on a remote system. So to start out with DSC, DSC introduces us to a new keyword called configuration. And we see that here in the configuration block. So to use DSC to configure your environment, what I did is I created a PowerShell script block, and you see that with the braces here, that begins with the keyword configuration, and then I put in an identifier, which is what I want the name of that configuration to be. So in this case, that identifier is web server config. Next, inside that configuration block, I put in a node block, and the node block allows me to target specific nodes or a node that I want this to apply to. So again, that uses the braces in order to create that script block. And notice here I'm using a variable $computer name, which I define here below, equal to DC01. This could be multiple nodes as well, so we could have this run against multiple nodes. So then inside the node block, I put in the resource block. And this is really where all the work happens, because in the resource block, this is used to configure your resources. So in my case, what I'm doing is I'm accessing the Windows feature resource, which is a built-in resource block inside of PowerShell for DSC. And then I'm accessing IIS in the Windows feature. And then under the resource block is where I set the settings for my server. So I set what the feature name is, web-server, and then I set the ensure equals, and that determines whether or not this feature gets installed. So present means that the IIS role should be on this server. So if it's not, it's going to install it. If you don't want it present, or you want to uninstall the role, what you do is you change this to absent, as you can see here in my remarks. So then as we go down below, what I have here is this is the command that we'd run, basically running web server config and setting the output path to a location on my C drive where the MOF file that will be used to push out the configuration will be stored. And then the last line, what I have is I'm doing a start-DSC configuration, and I'm pointing to the path where my MOF file is. I'm telling it what computer I want this to run against. I'm putting in -what-if and -wait. So the what if is going to cause it to not actually perform the task against the remote system. But what it's going to do is it's going to run through the processes and kind of do a, okay, if I did actually run this, what's it actually going to do, so that you would see the things that are happening along the way. So if I expand my screen up here so we can see what's going on, and I go ahead and I run my script, we'll save that. What it's going to do is it's going to go through the process, and that was fairly quick. So you see what it did was it created that MOF file, and then each of these lines is a what if, and it shows you exactly what it's doing. It's going through the local configuration management, and then it goes into the process of performing the installations. It tells us we might need to restart that, and then it ends the whole process. So that's DSC in a nutshell. I know we didn't cover a lot of it, but I think we covered enough of it to give you a good idea of what desired state configuration is. And if you do come across a configuration, you'll probably have a pretty good idea of what it does.